This is episode 2 of FandotDomdotcom, where fans are always on top. I have a special guest today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jaelyn. Apparently I'm a special guest, so that's live.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jaelyn. I am a senior at Texas State University. I am a digital media innovation major, and I do a theater minor, which is mainly like film and stuff like that. I take a bunch of weird classes and stuff. And yeah, I'm crusty and I'm trying to graduate, so yeah. And that's really it. My social media? I think my Instagram is Jaelyn.Ashford, Jaelyn. Nobody knows how to spell my name, but that's fine. It's fine. It's cool. It's fine. It's fine. And then, like, my Twitter's just like Jaelyn Ashford.
I met Jaelyn my sophomore year and your sophomore year.
Yeah, we're the same age.
Yeah, we're the same age.
I think, yeah.
I met her because we are in the same fraternity.
Hey.
Yeah, that's right. We're frat boys. We're in a frat called APO, Alpha Psi Omega. What?
Slit.
And,
disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting.
I'm Alpha class, and I pledged a year before her, and she's Beta class.
Wow. Old.
We're so crusty.
Anyway.
Yeah. And
Woof.
me and Jaelyn both work at, as RAs at False Stairs, I was about to say the word that we can't say. We both work as RAs at False Stairs, which is a res hall here.
I really hope the government doesn't need to find me for anything like this, because that'd just be really unfortunate for me, because they just got all of my information.
Mm-hmm. And what is your social security number?
I would like to submit that it is 1-800 none of your fucking business.
Mm-hmm.
But we can leave it at that.
I would have also accepted 62420.
I
Always
just ate this face mask. I'm sorry, I'm putting on a face mask and it didn't go well for me.
Yeah, so we go to school together, we work together. I know her very well. She is a fun, fantastic person, and I'm glad to have her on the show.
Aww, your listeners probably just hated that, but it's fine.
Oh, don't worry, all 3 of them, they're fine.
Yeah, y'all get over it. It's
So,
cool.
what are we talking about today?
The Bachelor franchise. Yeah.
I thought so. I
You
had
had an inkling.
Yeah. So, what I know about The Bachelor is it is a reality TV show, a dating TV show where people go on and they basically flaunt themselves and be like, date me, no, date me, here, have a rose, go home. And, it came out, in the 2000s, so it was really big during the, where everything was reality TV.
Yeah.
Reality TV competition shows, like a lot of those. I'm not into The Bachelor. I never have been. I've maybe seen, in total, 1 episode, and that is, several episodes, but just, clips of them. So that equals 1 episode. Yeah, I'm not really into it. So, Jaelyn,
all right,
what
I'd
is
like
The
to
Bachelor?
start this off by saying that I don't watch The Bachelor because I like myself. That's just a common... The Bachelor is, not to sound like a pretentious douche, but it's not a good show. It's I know what I'm watching when I'm watching it. Obviously, I don't go to watch The Bachelor for some kind of really empowering, show. That being said, it's a really fun hate watch. Mm-hmm. So that's how I started watching The Bachelor, because I was watching, I just got into The Bachelor, not long ago, last year, and it was with Colton season, and I started watching because my friends, our staff members, I think it was Zach and Coco, they were watching it in 112 as a joke, and I just started watching.
Isn't that how a lot of things start off as?
Yeah, that's really true.
Oh, it's just a joke. I'm not gonna get into it. It's just a joke.
Yeah.
And then you're in it for the long haul. You're watching it every week, streaming it as it comes out.
Yes.
Buying
that's
the tickets.
Kind of. I'm not buying a damn thing. But the thing is that it's it's such an enigma. Some pros and cons about The Bachelor. The cons being that the episodes are so fucking long. Mm-hmm. Each episode is an hour and a half long. And it runs for I want to say 10 or 11 weeks. So it's just each week. That being said, if you just want something to watch every week just to get you through that week, The Bachelor, great show.
And is it on Mondays?
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm still used to Bachelor in Paradise, which was like also on Mondays and Tuesdays because there was just so much content. That was 3 hours a week that you had to get through.
We'll get into that later.
So let me explain the Bachelor franchise. So how it works is that it started with a man, of course, sexism in America, you know, the patriarchy, we love it. And so it starts with this man, and he gets 30 women who want to date him in the house. They all share a mansion, and the man lives elsewhere. And so slowly the man like picks and chooses girls to go on group dates with or like regular dates, and then he just like whittles them down.
Oh my god, he kills them?
Yeah. I mean, well, like not like murdery murder, but just like he kills their spirit. So I guess that's
it's a type of murder.
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah, a little bit. So I prefer the Bachelorette, but we'll get into that later. But so it slowly whittles down, and some of the most significant things is that they're always in like a beautiful, really expensive part of the world. Like I think they were just in Greece for the Bachelorette last season. Like
Mamma mia.
Just fucking around in Greece. Here I go again. Am I right? That was a terrible joke. Like we're cut that out. But anyways,
go on.
Cut that out. But so they're always in like a really expensive place, and they're just like eating and sleeping and hanging around in this mansion waiting for the Bachelor to take them on a date. So fundamentally, of course, me being the proud feminist that I am, I balked at this because I'm just like, why would I ever watch this ever? The same reason why you watch any other kind of reality television. It's just kind of good as a hate watch a little bit, and you get into it when you start watching it because it's just kind of like, with everything really serious that goes on, sometimes it's just fun to sit and watch something that's kind of meaningless. And it's like, not to say that these people on the show don't have meaning or that they don't have lives to lead or something like that, but it's like, this show was not created necessarily to be something super heavy, I don't think. Or I don't think that was its initial intention. You know, it really depends on the perspective of who's watching it. Like, it could be a miraculous journey of someone finding love, but when you take a step out of it and you look at it, a lot of these relationships don't really last, and it's awful for the people that are in it. But the franchise itself, I don't think was ever meant to be taken very, very seriously. So it's nice to go into it knowing I can watch this without taking it super seriously. Mm-hmm. That being said, I got heated as fuck. So then The Bachelor like whittles it down to like, what do? They do hometown dates. So when it gets to like the final four girls, they'll go and meet all of their parents and all of their families.
Hi, Mom.
And be like,
Hi,
I
Dad.
might marry your daughter, but maybe not.
Hi,
and
Mom.
so,
Hi, Dad. This
can I get your
is
blessing?
The love of my life, and also 100-person film crew.
Yeah. Can we come in your house? Like, can we come inside? Oh, we didn't really, your daughter signed a contract, so we're coming inside.
So okay, for that instance, I mean, the parents have to be, like, in on it, and, like, legally speaking, so they have to sign a bunch of contracts to film into their house and,
yes,
you know, go into their personal lives. Or is it just, like, your daughter signed her soul away, so our city now?
No, I think that the parents have to consent to a certain extent, but it's also, it's weird middle ground because obviously I haven't watched a lot of it, so a lot of this I'm still figuring out too, but I know that there's been instances where it's like in a previous season, I don't think one of the dudes wanted to have his, and The Bachelorette, I don't think one of the dudes wanted to have his hometown date because his family kind of sucks a little bit, but then it was just like, it was weird and you could tell that everyone was uncomfortable, but they still did it, so I'm like, I don't really know how much of it is the family consenting to it and how much of it is just in the contracts with whoever goes on the show who signs it. Because obviously I feel like there'd be a case for it if somebody said no and they were like, no, you can't come film in my house, but I don't really have much knowledge on that. I gotta do more research into this terrible franchise.
So you've mentioned there's The Bachelor, then you've also said like The Bachelor in Paradise, and then The Bachelorette. So how many spin-offs, if you will?
The 3 surviving spin-offs as of right now are Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise. So, like, I'll get that moving. So basically, when The Bachelor whittles it down, like, they'll have fantasy suites where they can have sex or whatever if they want to, and then, like, The Bachelor will choose someone to propose to. And it's humiliating for the person who's, like, not proposed to on national television, which I hate. It was garbage to watch. But basically the Bachelor proposes, finds a girl, and falls in love. That's the end of the Bachelor franchise. Then what they do to keep the franchise going, and it's like a little fuck cult, so they'll take one of the girls who was in the season that was well received by like the fans or something that didn't marry the Bachelor, and they will make her the next Bachelorette. Mm-hmm. And so the season starts with this girl from the last season that we're already familiar with, 30 new dudes, like, going through the whole thing. And so each cycle, what happens is, I think The Bachelor airs in January and runs, like, maybe January to March. The Bachelorette airs, I want to say, May to July, late July. And then Bachelor in Paradise airs Augusty area, like late July, early Augusty. It airs like right after The Bachelorette happens.
For Bachelor in Paradise, they film in the summer, I'm assuming?
Yes, they go to a beach in Mexico, and they...
Same beach every season, or different
Yes,
beach?
I think it's the same beach every season. This is the first season that I watched The Bachelor in Paradise, and holy shit, it's a shit show. It was so wild. Everybody's fucking each other, and it's weird because it's like, when you have so many seasons of just people dating around each other and like being in Bachelor Nation, because that's the fan base for this, it's Bachelor Nation. When you have so many people that are just like dating each other, then you put them, so basically Bachelor in Paradise is all of the fan favorites from like the last few seasons of Bachelor and Bachelorette going on there and trying to figure it out amongst themselves, like, and so
you have all the rejects from The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Yes.
And then it just becomes a fuck party on a beach, essentially.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That's literally exactly what it is. And the thing is that it's crazy because it's like, it's elimination style too. So basically,
how?
It's weird. It's really weird how
they literally vote themselves off the island? How?
Yeah, sometimes. Basically what happens is that like, they'll start off with a certain number of dudes and a certain number of girls. And there'll be a week where it's girls handing out roses, like on Bachelorette. And there'll be the next week, it'll be dudes handing out roses, like on Bachelor. So they'll have like more guys than girls one week, or vice versa. And they will have people try and form relationships while they're on that beach throughout the week. And then they'll have the rose ceremony like they have in Bachelor or Bachelorette. And whoever doesn't get a rose goes home. And then they bring more people out.
Wait, so it's essentially, it feeds more into it, so it's like when you're playing a card game, you lose a card and then you just draw a new one and a new person just shows up?
Yep.
So this franchise has been going on for...
Very, very, very long time.
You probably, I want to say, at least over 10 years.
Over 10 years,
So
yeah.
they probably have like a lot of fish to choose from.
Yeah, but of course, like, some people don't really stay in the Bachelor franchise forever. Some of them get married, have kids, go off and live their life, do whatever.
They actually fall in love?
I know. I know.
Not on
Shit's
TV?
Wild. Insane. Absolutely insane. So, yeah, that happens. And so, obviously, that's not everyone. And then it's, like, the people that want to be on Bachelor in Paradise. Like, they don't have to. But it's, like, more opportunity for a platform and for exposure and stuff like that. It's not... it's very, very obviously not about only falling in love. But it's also for the platform that they get with it. Yeah, definitely.
So, you have The Bachelor. You had The Bachelorette. Then you have The Bachelor in Paradise. When I was growing up, I didn't watch these shows, like I said before. But I did... sometimes watch VHS or VH1 or MTV, and they had shows that were essentially the same thing, but with like, Flavor Flav.
Oh, Flavor of Love. Yes,
yeah, Flavor of Love, and then that spin-off, I Love New York.
Oh, yes, of course, I Love
and
New York.
then there was one with an old rock star dude who, Brent's Tour Bus of Love, which is...
Oh, my.
I don't know. Something like that. He's the guy who's saying every rose has a thorn.
In theory, I know what you're talking about.
And then there's this other one. Oh, Tequila
Rose.
Tequila's Rome Shot at Love. And that's actually the first time I heard the word bisexual.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, this girl likes guys and dudes. Hope this doesn't awake anything in me. 5 years later, I did come out.
Hey.
But, so this is, essentially all these shows were influenced by The Bachelor. So we've seen, and it is a huge phenomenon, because I do remember coming down into the lobby and there's just a sea of people watching The Bachelor on our TVs in the living room, and they have like a little watch party. So people are watching it. It's a very popular show.
Oh, yeah.
But how many people hate watch it, and how many people are actually invested in like these people's lives?
I don't know. It's very hard to tell. That's why it's strange, because it's like, I don't want to necessarily offend people that do like watch it because they're really, really invested in it, but I can't take the show super seriously because I've never really fucked with the premise of it. It just seems sadistic to put a bunch of people in a house and have them fight over one person. It seems like there's a layer of narcissism to it. It seems like there's a layer of it's just in concept, it's never been something that I would subscribe myself to, because it's not something that I would ever want to partake in. And maybe that's like part of the psychology of people. Like, why are people watching this show if it's not just because I watched it because I was curious, and then it's kind of like, it was interesting to me to see the mindless drama that takes place in it. Oh, that's also a huge part that goes into it. It's edited as a shit. It is edited to shit. Like, the producers like stir drama and stuff like that. It's really why anyone would watch any kind of reality TV show.
Oh, yeah, reality TV show is not reality at all.
Absolutely not.
It's scripted. The producers are there, and they're telling people, now go spill a drink on her.
Yeah.
Or go slap her face, or go fuck him in a cabana beach.
Exactly.
You know, something like that.
Yeah.
And that is really the dichotomy of reality TV shows, which brings me to, this is going to sound weird, but the WWE, World Wrestling.
Yeah.
It is essentially, it is...
It's reality TV.
It's reality TV, but set on stage. In the stage just also happens to be a ring.
Scripted to all hell.
And it's scripted and it's fake. But people know it's fake, and they're watching it like these people fight and these people being eliminated. And there are people that do think it's real. Marks. I think they're marks. And then you look over at The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and The Bachelor in Paradise, we still see the same thing where people are watching it. A lot of people know it's fake. A lot of people know it's bad, but they still enjoy it. But why is that?
I think that it's because, unlike some aspects of reality television, there are elements of it that are real. So, like, even if it's a short amount of time, people do fall in love in the show, or they fall in lust, or they fall in whatever kind of idealism that there is in love. And I feel like a lot of people like to subscribe to the idea that you can just like randomly, not so randomly, but like go into a house, find your soulmate, and then like walk away with the perfect person for yourself. And it's like, of course, some of it's scripted. A lot of it's like scripted with the fights, or like, I've been really getting into looking at the script setup of the show because I've been following channels that like report on The Bachelor, because I find it interesting. Sometimes it's a recap channel because I don't feel like sitting through an hour and a half of it, but I still want to know what's going on, just to know what's going on. But then like, it's also, I've been looking at the framework of the show, and so there was a channel that was posting, it was Bachelor Fan Take, shout out to Bachelor Fan Take, and it was a channel that was posting about how to identify early in the season who's likely going to win The Bachelor, who's going to like marry The Bachelor or whatever, who's going to be the villain of the season, because they always have a person that's heavily edited or heavily scripted to like appear like a villain in the season, and who's likely going to be the next Bachelorette or the next Bachelor or whatever, whoever they're picking up from that franchise. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it goes into the editing and the scripting that's done into it, and it's really interesting when you pay attention to it because there's a psychology behind it and there's a formula to it, to how they script these shows. It's very smart how they do it, but it still has an element of realism to it with all of the stuff that goes into it, because these people really do, at least for however long they're together, they find love on that show. And also, of course, it goes into it where it's like, if you're in an echo chamber that's nice enough, like, you can... Obviously, if you're sitting in an expensive mansion, drinking expensive wine and eating free food for like a month and a half or 2 months, then you can fall in love with anybody. I'll stand by that. But like...
I'm falling in love.
Yeah, exactly.
With this craft table.
Oh, hell yeah I am. Crafty, give me your number. Like, I will not leave with The Bachelor, but I will leave with you. And I think that's also why like some of the relationships don't work out, because real life plays into it. But it's like, if you put someone in this situation that doesn't have to be real life, and you just let them spend time with people and enjoy people and like all of the goodness that there could possibly be, like the best possible circumstances, then they could fall in love, at least for a little bit. And so it's like, I feel like it's really something that a lot of people would like to see because we aren't in those circumstances and we aren't necessarily in the best of times when people are looking for love in the real world. So it's sometimes just nice to sit back and watch people find love together in perfect circumstances for ever how long it may be.
But you mentioned like these people fall in love. Now the thing is, the gimmick is at the end, whoever is left marries. They get married. But do any of those relationships, have they lasted?
Some of them do, a lot of them don't. So I haven't kept really good tabs on like the former Bachelor contestants and the former Bachelorette. I'm only caught up for like maybe the last 3 seasons or so, like the full cycle, like the Bachelor cycle, the Bachelorette cycle, and the Bachelor in Paradise. Like I'm very new to this as well. I know that there are a lot of relationships that didn't work out and a lot of relationships that fall apart because when you take it out of that echo chamber and you put it back in the real world, there are real world consequences. There's distance, there's money, there's time, there's like jobs, there's pressures, there's the social aspect, the family aspect, like all of the other reasons why relationships don't work out. They don't go away once you leave this paradise or this mansion that you're put in for weeks. And so it makes sense why it doesn't work, but it's kind of cool that sometimes there are couples that are able to go through that and withstand that and stay together. And I know that there are couples that do come off of the show and they're like, they always bring them back for the reunions. Or like I think a couple that was on a previous season just got married in Bachelor in Paradise, like it was a part of the episode, or on the finale, like some of them came out and brought their kids with them. Like I think that that's really nice for people to see because you don't see that every day and you don't always see things working out for the best. And so it's like, it's nice to hold on to that ideal that something like that could happen.
That is sort of a nice thing to think. You want to believe that love is real and then you can commoditize and profit on this love. So what I'm curious about is the show isn't live. It's pre-recorded.
Yes and no. So the entire run of the show where the Bachelor or the Bachelorette is going through the relationships and going on the dates, that's pre-recorded 3 months in advance. Then at the end of the show, they catch up in real time and they do have a night that's live. That's the reunion where all of the people that were on the show come back and talk about being on the show. And then we catch up with whoever was on the show and see if the couple held together and how they're doing 3 months later after the show.
So I don't know if you know this episode, this season that I'm going to talk about, but I remember something about The Bachelor where it was The Bachelor and he chose a girl, but then he went back on it and said, like, I can't get married to you. There's the other girl I like. I know this because it was parodied on SNL. Yeah. So what was that about? What exactly happened in that instant?
I don't know a lot about it. I didn't see the actual season, but what I do know about it is probably not much more than you know about it. It's they whittled down the girls to like a final 3 or a final 2, and so the day comes when the Bachelor proposes and he stands in front of both girls, and it's probably the part that I hate about the show the most is because the girls don't know who they're picking, and it's like the relationships really build between these people to the point where it could go either way with whoever. And so the person who's on the other end has no idea that this person has different feelings for someone else that are better or stronger, because it's really honestly dating multiple people at one time, and it's just kind of like a competition to see who you like the most. And so it's really crazy to watch because girls go home heartbroken about this. But anyways, rambling back to the point is that both of the girls like stand on a platform at different times, and the Bachelor goes up and he's just like, either, hey, I love you, will you marry me, gets down on one knee, or hey, I'm sorry, you're not the one for me. But they're still standing there not knowing which one it's gonna be, and it's filmed, and that's awful.
So what you're saying is they essentially record 2 different endings where each girl is being proposed to and each girl is being rejected?
No, they record both endings as they are. So there's one proposal and one rejection. They're both recorded and they're just aired together. So like the rejection will always be aired first and then the proposal will be aired after that. It's really, really rough. So essentially what I know about what happened that season is that he rejected one girl and proposed to another one, but then the 3 months goes by, or I don't even know if it's the 3 months, but the Bachelor realizes that he made a mistake with whoever he proposed to and he wished he proposed to the other girl. Maybe it was because he had to reject her to her face. Maybe that's what had to go into it, but he changed his mind, essentially, and I imagine it was really awful. I didn't watch that season, but something kind of similar happened this last Bachelorette cycle where it was just like, when you get invested into it, it hurt really bad. It hurt really, really bad to see.
Because you're rooting for, well, I'm going to say characters, but these are essentially real people.
Yes, and it's like, because the show is pre-recorded, if stuff comes out while it's airing, we know about it and we're watching it knowing something that the main characters don't know, or that the main stars of the show don't know. So basically what happened on this last Bachelorette cycle is that midway while the show is airing, and of course there's spoilers that comes out because someone knows what happens, so the spoilers get leaked.
It's pre-recorded.
Yeah. And so basically spoilers came out, not even spoilers, but a People article came out saying that one of the contestants on the show had a girlfriend the entire time that he was dating the Bachelorette. And he wound up being the one that the Bachelorette chose. And so we knew that he was a piece of shit the entire time, but the Bachelorette didn't know that because it had already been recorded and the stuff hadn't come out. We were obviously rooting for the person who wasn't that guy, and the other person was just like better in every other kind of way, it's just frustrating, and it hurts to see people actually get screwed over and get blindsided on the show, because it's real people with real emotions and stuff like that, which makes the show way, way wilder to watch. But it's easy to forget that sometimes. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is about this, it is new people every season. So, unlike a scripted television show where you have like a cast of characters that you know and love, and they're basically all have their own personalities, it is different people with different personalities coming in. But do we see like the same personalities come in? Like we see the villain, we see like the good girl or the bad girl.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like people like or do they like put on these roles? Are they chosen for themselves, or are they just like this? Or do the producers like give them these roles, like saying, hey, you're going to be this season's villain. We're going to take you at least to the top 5. Because like people do love a villain. So you need to have at least like some conflict.
Definitely so. When they're casting, I feel like they do very honest interviews with these people. Obviously, I don't know what happens when they're casting, but what I think happens is that they do honest interviews with these people, and they look for personality types based on the kind of questions that they're asking. And so when they're casting, they're like, I feel like this person would clash with this person, or I feel like this person would be good for this kind of thing because they think this and this other person thinks this, so that might cause conflict or drama. I feel like they're scouting that out when they're scouting out the people, not necessarily saying, oh, you need to play this character, but whenever they're picking people that are polar opposites, throwing them together, waiting for drama to happen, and then editing it to make it look how they want it to look, which is very smart. It's very smart for them to do that, but it's also like, damn, like, you really did that, didn't you? And it's also crazy because, don't even get me started on, this is a very love-hate relationship I have with the show, because it's very interesting to watch, because you get attached to people on the show and you want to see happiness for the people that you root for on the show, but the show has so many like fundamental issues, not even just the sadistic aspect of like having one person date 30 people. Like, it's such a mind fuck for the one person that's dating 30 people, and it's a mind fuck for the 30 people that are dating one person. But it's also very blatant racism in the show. There's sexism in the show. It's hard for people to hear that, because it's like you go into just thinking, oh, well, this is just a person that's trying to find love. But the way that they cast it and the way that things happen, it's easy to see where it's flawed. For example, there's never been a Black Bachelor. They had their chance to cast a Black Bachelor literally last night, and he was the fan favorite of like almost everyone. Everybody wanted him to be Bachelor. I know that I told you that I was ready to drop out of school and go join the Bachelor if he was named
Yes,
Bachelor. I was very serious about that.
And what was his name?
Mike Johnson. Definitely would die for Hey, Mike, if you ever decide that Demi Lovato is not what you want, I am here We're not far. I know you're in San Antonio. I am in not Antonio, but like I can be there.
You're in one of the Sands.
I'm in one of the Sands. It's not terribly far. So I'm just saying I will commute for you.
You said a lot of words that I always try to put together. So he's with Demi Lovato now?
There's rumors that he went on a date with Demi Lovato because Demi Lovato also watches The Bachelor and she was like, Mike's a snack. Which he is, but like it hurt me a little bit. He's also 10 years older than me. But that's beside the point. That doesn't have anything to do with this today.
So Mike didn't get in, but who did?
Peter. And Peter,
can I just say these are some generic names?
I don't know what America's fetish is for white boys named Peter. I definitely kind of get it with like Peter Parker. Like definitely Tom Holland is one of the white boys that I would lay it down on the line for.
I feel like that's a lot of people would lay it down everything.
Oh yeah, for Tom Holland.
For Tom Holland.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Tom Holland.
We're not talking about Tom Holland. We're not talking about Tom Holland.
Let's talk about a different Peter. This new Peter who's going to be, dating, 30 girls at the same time.
Yes.
On television.
Peter made it into the last Bachelorette's top 3. He was a very nice dude. Like, everybody liked Peter. But it was very, very clear that Mike would have been the best choice for Bachelor for a plethora of reasons. He would have been the first Black Bachelor. He would have been the first veteran Bachelor because he's a veteran. He is kind. He's personable. No one ever had anything bad to say about Mike. He was a great dude, and he was not down for the bullshit. And so I was like, this is going to be so refreshing. I'm so excited to have Mike as Bachelor. And I got my hopes up all summer, and I know a million other people got their hopes up all summer, and they did not cast him. They cast Peter. And it was literally laughable because they sat Peter down, and the host was like, you're unlike any other Bachelor we've ever had before. And I was like, how the fuck, me looking at the last 25 white men on this screen, where's Spot the Difference? Where the fuck is Waldo? How is Peter different from any of the other, like they dropped the ball so hard on that.
He's got a little bit of salt in him. Everyone else.
He's German.
Like, oh, how spicy. Exotic.
Listen,
Wunderbar.
If I wanted some fucking Wiener Schnitzel, I would have gone back home. I was born in Germany. Like, I had the choice. I did not want to take this choice. And it's just like, Peter's perfectly nice, but Peter will do fine without The Bachelor. And it was just they dropped the ball so hard with that. That combined with the fact that there's only been one Black Bachelorette, and the racism in America really shows because her ratings were the worst, even though she was like one of the kindest, one of the best representations of Bachelorette to date. And the sexism of this franchise really shows because the entire last season with Hannah, they let their villain, they're not protecting these women on this show. They let the villain be a strategic liar who was gaslighting her all season and was just absolutely to the core terrible, manipulative, emotionally abusive. Like, he was just awful, and they let him stay on the show for way longer than he could have, even though they knew what kind of person that he was. And it was just so awful. The good news is that the Bachelorette had a good head on her shoulders. So when she figured it out and she was done with the bullshit. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it went on for as long as it was is ridiculous. And it's just like, it's really bad on ABC for letting it go that way. But it's not that surprising considering how the franchise is set up. It's problematic and it's really shameful. It's really sad to see because it is a show that is essentially about finding love wherever you find love, and we get this such flawed representation that's not catering to the people that are actually on those shows. It's sad. It's sad to see me getting more invested than I ever intended to in this terrible, terrible show.
So you mentioned that how they find the new Bachelorette is they basically take the pool of people from seasons past. But how do they find the contestants? The ones that are going to, either go home sad and alone or who are going to be paraded around for 30 plus episodes and then getting into, a TV fake marriage maybe.
That's a good ass question. I need to know that for if they ever decide to make The Bachelor. But I should have figured this out a while ago because I was dead serious about dropping out and going to The Bachelor. I was 70% serious. My mom would beat my ass. But from what I know, I feel like they may do casting calls of some sort for it. There's always a lot of women from Texas on these shows. I don't know why, but
I think I know why.
Why?
Texas is really known for pageantry. And what is The Bachelor?
Very true.
And what is The Bachelor but a pageant?
It is a pageant. In fact, Colton's season, there were 2 pageant girls that were fighting it out for half of the season. One of them wound up being one of the fakest bitches on Bachelor in Paradise, and the other one wound up being the Bachelorette, who I actually stan. I stan Hannah Brown. I stan. She's actually...
Is this the Hannah that you keep mentioning?
Yeah. Stan Hannah. But, so I feel like there might be some sort of casting call. I know that some people were scouted to be on the show. I'm not really sure how that works, but I know that I think Peter was scouted to be on Hannah's season of The Bachelorette. If not Peter, her runner-up, Tyler. I don't know how they would cast for it, except how they would cast for any other reality show, but I don't have a lot of insight on that because I haven't done a lot of research on that.
So we mentioned, how, again, I'm going to say characters, but they are real people. Mm-hmm. Some of them kind of have, their own personalities, and one of them becomes, like, the villain, and one of them becomes, like, the one that everyone roots for, and then some of them are just there. And we talked about how they get onto the show, but could you, like, break down an episode of The Bachelor? Like, what is it from... I know that, like, every new season they do like the introduction where the guy or the dude, the girl stands and they're like introducing them. Each one comes around the corner. I know this because I saw a bunch of dumb things about, I think it was like last year's Bachelor where he was a virgin, so all of them were making like virgin jokes. Yeah. And then this one girl literally showed up in a sloth outfit. Yeah. And I haven't watched the episode, but I heard that she committed to the bit.
Yes, the fuck she did.
Like she climbed a tree and she wore that sloth outfit for the whole episode apparently.
Yeah, she did.
What exactly happens from beginning to end? Like do they go on a bunch of dates? Is it like other reality shows where they have to do like challenges?
Kind of, yeah. So essentially, if I were to break down an average episode of The Bachelor, not counting for like any kind of weird time gaps or like cliffhangers. So the girls all live in the house together. They live in the mansion, however many girls are left. There are 2 group dates, one one-on-one date, and then a cocktail party and a rose ceremony.
So that's the basis of all the episodes.
Yeah, it essentially goes on that cycle until it starts whittling down to less girls, and then there's like fewer dates and stuff like that. So essentially there will be a group date where however many girls are invited to go on a group date. That's when kind of the challenge aspect comes in, because a lot of them will go and do some kind of challenge. I feel like it's more challenge based when it's on The Bachelorette than it is on The Bachelor, because what did they do? I think the girls played like flag football or something in one of the episodes for a group date, and then it's like they do something where they just kind of have the girls like doing challenges or fighting it out. Bachelorette, I know that they were in Scotland at one point in time and they were kill wrestling, or they were doing some shit. Like it's
Highlander style.
Yes.
Literally cutting off each other's heads and like gaining their hotness powers.
I know
because there literally can only be one.
Oh yeah, definitely. So The Bachelor definitely got a lot of lawsuits when like they cut off somebody's head on live TV. Mm-hmm. But I was just like, I mean, fuck, you got to do what you got to do. You
like
know what I mean?
America loves good blood sport.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What else do we need?
So you kind of putting the plot of the show on a back burner. You mentioned that they're basically like themed, like they're in Greece, they're in Scotland, they're on a beach in Mexico. So does that play into like the theming of the show at all?
Sometimes it's used as an aspect for white people to discover culture that's not white. That was really blunt way to put it, but
no,
it's like it was.
Go on.
They were in some country. I don't remember which because I wasn't really paying attention to the season yet. Mm-hmm. But they went somewhere and they were just like trying exotic foods or something like that. I think someone ate an eyeball, and like in Greece, I think somebody else like ate a tongue or something. Like they always and they explore the culture of wherever they are.
Well, the thing is, I feel like eating tongue is not very adventurous for these people because they're literally just tonguing each other.
Very true.
Yeah.
The tongue was pickled though, so gotta add a little bit of
a little vinegary flavor. So, do they do any like themed challenge events like you mentioned when they did like when they had in Scotland they had like a Highlander battle or kilt fight?
They were like wrestling in kilts, and I think another point in time they played rugby, or or like football, because when it gets down to like less dudes, they start traveling all over the place. Essentially, the show takes place in California in the mansion, and then when it gets down to less people, they travel somewhere like America's Next Top Model.
Yeah, I was about to say that because I do remember.
Yeah.
You're both going to London! So shit like that happens.
Yeah. And so they explore the culture of wherever they're from, like trying to sweeten the deal a little bit, I guess, when you're like, dating one person and trying to figure out something to do while you're sitting around in a mansion waiting to go on a date with someone. Because that's what they're doing, to answer that question. Uh-huh. That's what they're doing when they're not like on a date or doing something. They're literally chilling in a house.
So back to the plot of each episode. There is the cocktail hour, then like the date/group dates, and
backwards, but yes. So the group dates and the one-on-one dates come first. So girl gets a one-on-one date, like it's individual time, whoever's randomly selected for that. And then it'll get closer to the cocktail party, where kind of like the girls who didn't get more attention from the Bachelor in any of the other dates. So like if a girl wasn't invited on the one-on-one date, and when it gets down to group dates, the number lessens. So like if you're not on a group date or you're not on a one-on-one date, then the cocktail party's kind of like your last-ditch effort to try and make an impression. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the rose ceremony that happens right afterwards, if you don't get a rose, you get cut and you go home.
Mm-hmm. So the cocktail hours is essentially all the girls that were rejected from the dates for that episode, and they're kind of gossiping about like different things.
They're kind of pulling aside the Bachelor, like they always do a thing where they're like, oh, toast, and then somebody's like, can I borrow you for a second?
Okay.
And then so they like each get their one-on-one time to sit and talk to the Bachelor.
So again, back to SNL, they have parodied this before, where it's just like, you know, someone's like, hey, can I steal him for a moment? This is nice.
Yeah.
So that's real.
That's real. It really happens. Yeah.
Oh, life imitates art.
And the thing about the show is that there's so many comedic elements, because it's like, yes, on a grand scale of things, it's like these girls trying to find love or these dudes trying to find love. It has all the regular catfighting and drama of reality TV show. I think that The Bachelorette, maybe it's because I'm a woman, I think that The Bachelorette is so much funnier than The Bachelor, because there are elements of, it's just a dick measuring contest at a certain point in time in The Bachelor. Half of the dudes, I swear to God, they're not even there for The Bachelorette. They're just there to prove that they're better than somebody. And so it gets so funny because it's like these dudes getting so competitive for nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's just, it's funny because it's vetted a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's because it's in a little area where it's like okay to be dramatic or something. Like it was,
people encourage it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that
good television.
Exactly. I think there was this tweet that I retweeted, and it was the funniest thing. So I think it's on my Twitter. So kudos to the girl who tweeted it. And it was like, The Bachelorette is just an experiment to prove that men are just as crazy as they say women are. End tweet. And it was.
I think so. What I think it is essentially Lord of the Flies situation, where you take a group of people who are from, you know, a society which we live in, and you place them on an island, or in this case, a giant house that can house 30 people and a crew of 100, and you isolate them and you let them all, like, you know, they're isolated from, they probably can't get on social media, they probably can't contact their family, they only know like this dating show for 3 months essentially.
Yeah.
And I feel like they start becoming savage, you know, they're hunting pigs, and they're holding a conch shell, and they suddenly got war paint on, and all of this stuff happens because they're in such an isolated area, and there are people like behind the cameras that are like, no, do that, yeah, yell at them, throw that drink, you know, kiss her, kick him, stuff like that. So I feel like it's kind of a breakdown of the human psyche a little, where it's just like, let's boil these people down to their most dramatic features and get that shit on camera.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, it's not surprising that people like fall in temporary love or whatever kind of love on this show, because fuck, when you're in a house with someone for 3 months and you have no contact with the outside world, I'd shit. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. You look human. I'll fuck you. That's fine.
So that brings me to, there are so many people in this house. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they're vibing with all of them. And, you know, they're going after this one person. But after all these years, you know, 10 plus years of this, how would the contestants not have fallen in love or at least hooked up with each other?
They do.
They do.
They definitely do. That's part of what Bachelor in Paradise is. They kind of use the show as an opportunity for people who watched other seasons of Bachelor and were like seeing other contestants are like, oh, this person's cute. Oh, this person interesting. That Paradise is an opportunity. A lot of people on Paradise go into it hoping that they meet someone that they saw on one of the shows. And like, I swear to God, they have like some kind of Bachelor Facebook group where they're just like all together and they're just like tweeting.
They still use Facebook, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure. Where they're just like, hey, Kaylin, you looked like hot in this episode. Can't wait for Bachelor. Tongue emoji, tongue emoji, tongue emoji, eggplant emoji, eggplant emoji, eggplant emoji. And like they do kind of like stay in contact with each other. It's kind of like in our theater department, how you don't like know somebody, but you like know of them.
Yeah.
And so,
oh
like,
God, for sure,
you can dance,
sure.
Or like any other department, really, where it's like you dance around somebody long enough, but eventually you will meet them one on one. And it's kind of like that, but it's put in an area or a show where the guidelines are expected to have people fall into relationships. So it's not surprising if they like fuck each other or they date each other.
See, what I was saying was, what I was more getting at was, how come, like, you know, on The Bachelor, you have this group of, 30 women? Mm-hmm. How's one of them not queer, or two of them not queer, and maybe start a relationship after this? Yeah,
I feel like when they're casting, they definitely, like, try and find women who are interested in The Bachelor. And so it's like, of course there's a societal pressure of knowing that everything you do is on live TV and the homophobia in society. So it's just kind of like, I feel like there's always that looming pressure of like what people will think about that if you do decide to go after a woman on the show. They actually just had their first same-sex Bachelor engagement, like literally last week.
Like, they were on The Bachelor together, or they happened to meet after The Bachelor?
Basically what happened was that in Colton the Virgin season of Bachelor, there was one of the girls who was a fan favorite, Demi, who is hilarious. Absolutely love her. She came to Texas State. So that's our mark in the world. That Demi Burnett
we're so famous.
Came to Texas
We're
State.
not known as a party school anymore.
We got the Barbie Jeep girl, and we got Demi Lovato. Not Lovato. That is her Twitter handle.
Demi not Lovato.
Demi not Lovato. And
Wonderful.
Then also, who else do we have? We have Bubble Guy. But she was a fan favorite on the show, and so she came to Bachelor in Paradise because she didn't like wind up with The Bachelor. And she was dating this dude on Bachelor in Paradise, and then she was just like on the show, hey, I'm bisexual. And she told the dude that, and he was like, okay, cool. And then she was like, yeah, I was dating a woman back home, and like we were kind of like in weird territory, and I came onto the show to make sure that I knew as much about myself as I wanted to, and like explored all of my options so that like we.
So why not explore your options by getting onto show with 30 other women and one dude? That is a bisexual's dream. Are you kidding me?
It really is, but these women that they were casting were either not bisexual or not comfortable enough in their bisexuality to go for another girl on the show. But Demi there was a whole episode where Demi was really conflicted because she was like, I think I still have feelings for this girl back home. And so they brought her onto the show.
They brought the girl onto the show.
Yes, they did.
Oh my God, the producers, they're just like grabbing at anything they can get and like slamming it and like, wow.
Oh yeah. And so they brought Christian onto the show, and Demi saw Christian, and she was like, no, yeah, I'm gay for Christian. So I'm out now. Like you guys already knew I was bisexual, but I want to be with Christian. She broke up with Derek, who she was dating on the show, and Derek like had a chance to find love with somebody else on the island and stuff like that. And so she started regularly dating Christian. Every rose ceremony, she gave her a rose to Christian and vice versa. And then they just got engaged. The very first same-sex Bachelor couple, and I am so happy for them.
So it was like a relationship before The Bachelor.
Yeah, they didn't meet and date on the show. That's something I think Haley Kiyoko girl. I think Haley Kiyoko said something once, and she was like, my dream is to be the first gay bachelorette and like just date a bunch of women. But it was like, it's always so chaotic because it's like, if you put 30 gay women in one house, they are not all gonna go for the same bachelorette. I'm sorry. No, it's not gonna happen.
Well, first off, they're all gonna go like, man, I wish I had a girlfriend. And they're all gonna go like, oh, yeah, same. I know,
same,
like,
girl,
literally,
right?
You're all in the same room. You're all queer.
All within making out distance.
You're all dumb.
Absolutely not. That would never.
And then after a while, they're gonna be like, oh my god.
You've been in front of me the entire time.
I bring this up, this queerness in a reality dating show, is because I remember seeing online somewhere that there was this essentially a bachelorette style dating show in, I want to say Korea. I'm probably wrong. But like they had like a rose ceremony essentially where one of the girls was about to be eliminated, and she's like, eliminate me, but I just want to say I'm in love with this one girl. And so she like literally turned to her and said like, listen, I'm in love with you. I don't know if you have like the same feelings for me, but like maybe we can make this work. Come away with me. And apparently they made it work, and I believe they're still in a relationship. I don't know if they're married. I don't have any updates on this, but they were dating for quite a while, or they have been dating.
That shit is so live.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, especially in 2019, it's not great for the LGBT community, but like I don't understand why the producers of The Bachelor and all of its spin-offs have not like done, at least pull some strings like that to have some elaborate sort of like long haul plot point of that with just add it for drama, I don't understand why they haven't done that.
They're too scared. They are little bitches. They're chicken shit. And just judging by the fact that there's been one black bachelorette and no black bachelors, or no bachelors of color, really. I think they might have had one Hispanic bachelor, but I don't even know if that's true. But it's just like ABC in this franchise is so afraid of diversity, or at least of putting diversity front and center. So I feel like they are just like concerned about who their audience would be, how their audience would react to seeing this kind of diversity, especially in this day and age where people are so loud about their ignorance, or people are so loud about their opposal to the LGBTQIA or people of color in society. Like, they know what their fan base is at their core, and not all of them are as progressive as we would like them to be. And I think that they know that it would lose them ratings, it would lose them money. And so as much as so many of us want to see that, we're not always going to be their target demographic, especially not at the core when they know when their money's coming from. And it's from the people that have been watching it since the beginning, that want to see white men fall in love with white women, and vice versa. White straight men fall in love with white straight women.
Yeah. That's, I gotta say, 10 plus years of that, kind of boring,
Yeah.
But, like, people still eat it up.
They do, yeah. And it's weird because I think that it's at a point where it's starting to become really more visible. I think that when Mike was not voted Bachelor, it really showed for a lot of people, because we were all expecting it. Not everyone, but like a good majority of people. Like, Twitter was in an uproar. Like, a good majority of people were expecting Mike to be Bachelor, and a lot of them were upset that they chose Peter. And a lot of the people were saying Peter is boring. Peter is like white bread, the same Bachelor that we've had for every other season. And I didn't mind Peter when I saw him this season. I actually really enjoyed Peter. I thought he was really cute. But I feel like Mike stood for so much more than what Mike actually was. But Mike really, really would have issued in an era of diversity in The Bachelor that we're all really ready for. And I think everybody had already come to terms with it and been like, oh yeah, this is going to be really cool. Like, we're going to have a black Bachelor. Mike's great. We love Mike. And so wouldn't want anyone else to do it. So it's like, you have this seemingly perfect dude who's like loved by everyone, loved by the ratings, like people like him, and people have been very vocal about their support for him on the show. And you still don't choose him. So it's like, even in the best scenario, where there's this person who seems like he would be perfect for the job and would be great for diversity, and he's still not chosen. That's really saying something about what the core values of the show are and what they're actually looking for. Because if you can have someone who checks off all of the boxes and you still don't go with them, then what other reason is there?
Mm-hmm. So we've mentioned like the diversity of it, like how we don't see people of color in the show. We don't see LGBT people in the show, really. But the show essentially is, a whole big dating scene, and you could argue that the show does advocate for at least some aspect, a sort of a mild aspect of polyamory. Because you do see this one person dating multiple people, having maybe, produced relationship and, growing to love, maybe more than one person on this show. What do you think about that?
I think that it's very true. It's grounds for that in its concept, but I feel like a lot of that crumbles because they're still whittling people down and making them choose at the very end.
Yeah.
Though I don't know enough about polyamory to really say much about it. I'm not totally sure.
So I don't know too much about the polyamory scene. What I know about it is what I've read and what I've seen other people talk about that are polyamorous. So I'm not, the greatest resource of that. But what it is someone who dates multiple people, and it's all very consensual, and you do tell your partners about each other. There are types of polyamory where everyone is dating each other, but then there are polyamory where it kind of like branches out, like where this person is dating another person, but they are dating other people, but they're not dating each other.
Okay.
So like you could have a boyfriend here and a girlfriend here, but the boyfriend and girlfriend are not dating.
Okay.
But you are dating them, and they probably know about each other.
I can definitely see where there are grounds for that. I think that it's still a little bit stunted in the fact that it's like only one person is expected to be dating multiple people in the show. And so like none of the other girls are expected to be able to date anyone else. So it's like, I feel like if they explored more of the dynamics with dating within the house, there would definitely be more grounds for polyamory, but I don't know. It's just definitely in concept, it would be good representation for polyamory, but the fact that they make someone make a singular choice.
Yeah.
But I think that I don't want my opinion of this to be representative of what polyamory is when I'm not educated on it, but it's like I feel like it could show grounds for polyamory, like it's sexuality is not a choice, but like I feel like it shows where polyamorous people's mindsets could be, because at the end of the show it does get really difficult and you see the person struggling because they are in love with multiple people, and so it's like definitely possible to be in love with multiple people at one time.
And I also bring this up because one of the main ridicule of the show is like, and I've been doing it too, where it's like this one person is essentially dating 30 people at once and having, romantic sexual relationships and feelings for these people. And a lot of people are like, that's disgusting. That is, or they're like, oh, that's so funny. Ha ha ha. You don't see that a lot. Except for a lot of the times now, especially with people our age and a little bit older, they are dating, a lot of people at once, with Tinder and Bumble and all the other hookup apps. We do see people dating each other a lot. So I do feel like it's sort of, I'm not gonna say like The Bachelor is a great representation of polyamory and it led to all of these great relationship apps. But I'm just saying, like, I do think it's kind of funny that a lot of people make fun of The Bachelor because of how it's, one person essentially dating all of these people.
Right.
But you also see this in the dating, in the modern dating setting.
Yeah. I think that it's maybe because people want to buy into the fantasy that you will find your one. You're like, you can weed through all of these people, figure it out in however many months, and find your perfect person amongst these people.
Yeah, and that also brings up an aspect where I'm going to go on a little rant because
bet.
I'm not really into these kinds of shows. But something I do know, because something I also am into, is anime. And in anime, there is this genre, harem anime, where essentially...
I've heard of it.
It is one protagonist who has many people wanting to date the protagonist. And it's usually a really bland dude who has like brunette hair and he has no personality, and all these pretty girls want him for some reason.
Well, why would you need a personality if you already have 30 pretty girls that want you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then they also have a reverse harem anime where it's a girl and it's got 5 dudes after her too. And I have watched some of the reverse harem animes because I think they're dumb and funny, and it's essentially the same thing. Like, I know it's trash, but I'm gonna watch it.
Oh
yeah. So I'm not gonna judge you on that because I've definitely watched trash for the love of it.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of the times I'm watching these shows, and you know, these are fake characters. You know, these aren't like real people like they are on The Bachelor. But I'm just watching the show, and I'm like, can't you all just date this person? Like, you all like her or him, and they like you, so why can't y'all just like, you guys don't have to be dating each other, you could just be dating this one person. It would like solve all of your problems. I don't know if you know Pro DZ. He is he used to be on Vine, and he's also on YouTube. He talks about anime and stuff, and he made like jokes about this. Like, he made Cherem anime, this essentially the same joke about like, oh, you need to pick between the two of us, and like, why don't we all just fuck each other on a big fuck pile? So like, that's my thought about like, geez, why can't you just date? Why can't this one person just date 30 people? Like, it would just be so much easier. But also, like, the drama of it. I understand, like, in The Bachelor.
Not even talking about... I feel like... Again, I don't know enough about polyamory to really make a concrete, like, statement on this. Also, I'm not polyamorous, so I can't speak for anyone that's polyamorous. But I feel like there needs to be a level of security with someone that a lot of people who aren't polyamorous don't have. So, like, if you are dating someone, I feel like there's so much insecurity that goes into it. Like, do you like this person more than you like me? Like, I feel like there's a lot of pride that goes into it, a lot of self-doubt, self-hatred, self-insecurity that would really prevent people from being able to date multiple people at the same time, or to be dating someone who is dating multiple people at the same time.
Yeah, in the polyamory... in a polyamorous relationship, it is a lot about it, communications and consent, and you know, you want to talk about things that are bothering you, and like, you want to say like, I'm dating this person, and I'm also dating this person, and you know, sometimes they don't get along, so you got to like talk things out. But that doesn't make... I don't know if that makes good television, though.
Yeah, that's part of why The Bachelor and The Bachelorette gets so dramatic, because these people aren't having... Like, all of this stuff is conglomerated in this house. Yeah. All of the insecurity, all of the pettiness, the drama, all comes from these people wanting this one person to decide that they're better than all of the other people, or that I want to spend my life with you and not these other people. And so there's so much insecurity going into it, and so much of people comparing them to other people, and it fucks with you. It fucks with your head, and so it makes sense why there would be this much drama on the show, because it's all based on a concept that if you do not have the maturity or the mindset to go into it knowing that someone is dating other people, it will really, really, really fuck with you if you don't have the mental state to be able to handle that. I don't know if that made sense.
No, yeah, I get where you're coming from. And, you know, as a disclaimer, like, I'm not saying, like, The Bachelor is a great representation of polyamory.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like it has opened the doors to people, like, saying, like, dating multiple people at once. You know, it is an option. Because it is not a show.
Yeah.
It has been made fun of how it is not it's not a monogamous show. And a lot of people make fun of it for that reason.
Because monogamy is what's like societally accepted.
Yeah.
It's like the standard air quotes around that. I'm putting air quotes around that. I'm not saying that it is the standard. I am putting air quotes around it.
But like, a lot of people have like put that thought away to enjoy this show where one person is essentially dating 30 people.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned how people have talked about the show online, and like basically you said like everyone's on Twitter. So how does it affect the show?
I don't know how much it can affect the show while it's filming because, again, these people, I'm pretty sure, do not have access to much, if any, social media while they're filming it because as really well shown through the last season with Hannah and Jed was like dating someone else while he was with Hannah, and we didn't know that, or rather Jed and Hannah didn't know that when the show was filming because she didn't have access to people on social media. And so it's kind of like, it's weird because the social media plays into it after the fact, after it's already been filmed, after you've already had this experience, and then you go and watch people's reaction and you see it online. So, however, good example of how it can affect the show afterwards is that what recently happened in Bachelor in Paradise was there was this whole arc where a character was sleeping around before he got to Bachelor in Paradise, and a lot of the women that he slept around with were also on the island. So it was a whole thing, but then there was this girl who was hurt, and so about what happened, and so she said all of these things about the Bachelor the dude that was on the island, saying that he sweet talked her and that he got her into bed, and like the next morning he called her a mistake and said that she was a mistake and that he like broke her heart, etc., etc., etc. While this is airing, the dude who she was talking about didn't know she was saying these things because they weren't true. None of those things were true. And so as the show was airing, he was like, I don't like that she said that about me because none of that was true. So here are the text conversations proving that none of that was true, which kind of like the people who are in the show can't really do anything about it while they're filming. So whatever happens while they're filming is as authentic as I think it can be in this circumstance. But all of the reactions when the reunion comes around, those really are flamed by social media fire. Like whatever was seen on the show, whatever was riled up by people who are talking about the show, like all of that comes to head after all of the show has been aired and all of the social media aspect has gone into it. And then these people see each other again 3 months later and they all talk about it.
Do you think that, as they're airing the episodes and, because it's a weekly show, each episode comes out once every week, and do you think the producers at all are changing aspects as they're going while they're gauging social media?
Ooh.
Because, I know people, with every show, you watch the show and you either live tweet it or you basically rant about it on a different social media after you watch it.
Right.
So do you think the producers are gauging the audience and seeing what they should air next?
I wouldn't put it past them because I know that they have a lot of material that they don't always use. But it's really interesting to see who the fan favorites are and how. I think that you're definitely onto something with that because they do have fan favorites and the fan favorites do get more screen time as the series goes on, because I think that it would make sense that they see our reactions to these people online and then they're just like, okay, let's edit it this way instead. Let's give this person more screen time.
That's why I asked before, 30 minutes ago, where you mentioned at the ending, at the last rose ceremony, they basically film the rejection, and then they film the proposal. So my idea was they basically film both. Both people are rejected, and both people are proposed to. And then they have those, and then they gauge as the show goes on, they air each episode every week. They gauge the audience to see who the audience likes. And then at the very end, they see who the fan favorite is or who is the villain, and they win. And so they air the episode where they were proposed to, and then they also air the other one who was rejected.
That'd be really interesting. I don't think that's what happens because the reactions to the rejections are really, really, really authentic. And also these people are still in relationships after the show is over. So it's let's just say that the fan favorite was this one dude, but the Bachelorette actually picked the other dude. So it's it'd be weird if the show, quote, quote, picked this one dude, but she's actually in real life with this other dude, because if they come back for the reunion, then it'd be what the fuck happened? What did I just watch? So it is ultimately the Bachelor, the Bachelorette's decision, and it is whatever their decision is that gets aired. but I do think that a lot of the editing comes into different aspects of the show that's not just who stays on the show. I don't even know how much the producers have in who stays on the show. I know that they definitely have some leeway, especially in like the earlier episodes, but I do think that a lot of it, or at least a good, I want to say at least a good like 40% of it is in the hands of the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, like whoever they're actually vibing with, whoever they actually want to see more. But that's really interesting because it's like, why do they keep the villains around?
Well, yeah, you see that aspect in reality show a lot. Like, I absolutely love watching House Hunters, but recently I found out they have already bought the house.
Yeah.
And then they, like, go to a friend's house and clear it out, and then go walk through the friend's house and say, like, oh, I don't like the curtains, or the walls are wrong. And it's all fake, because they are, you know, they have the house that they want already.
Yeah.
So that's just, I guess, like, the realist in me, where it's like, all right, so how can I dissect this reality TV show and see, like, how... And it's also interesting, because, you know, we're both into film and filming, and it's interesting to see, like, from the production standpoint, how do they make this show, and how do they make it more, you know, watchable for the audience. Engaging the audience is, like, a really good way to do that, and a lot of, like, shows do that as well. So, again, you do want to believe in the love, but how much of this love is produced?
That's a good-ass question, which brings me back to why the fuck wasn't Mike Bachelor? Because, like, if they're listening to their fan base and they're, like, taking our reactions into account, then it's really puzzling why they make some of the decisions that they do. So that makes me think, like, not all of it is based on fan reaction, and not all of it is based on only the Bachelor or the Bachelorette's reaction. Like, there's some kind of middle ground. I'm not sure what's what on that entirely. The honest answer is that I don't know. Like, I've only been watching for like one full cycle, and what I've seen of it is only what is surface and maybe a little bit more. So it's like I watch the show just like everybody else, and then like I do fall into it. I get into it and I'm just like, oh, this person's trash. I hate this person. How do you like the typical reality TV show? Like I fall into it, and then it's just kind of like I'll take a step back and I'll be like, okay, how much of that was real and how much of it wasn't real? And because maybe I'm biased and because I'm into it and because I've been watching it, I'm a little bit cloudy on it because I don't know how much of it I want to believe is real and how much of it is actually real, or how much of it I actually think is produced or edited, stuff like that.
And that's interesting because I feel like that's everyone's sort of take on it. They're not really, like, are you in it for the love or are you in it for the entertainment value?
More so, I definitely went into it for the entertainment value, and then it's kind of like as you're watching these people and you're getting attached to these people for however many weeks you're watching the show, you get to see the human side of a lot of these people, and I do root for them because I want them to find happiness, because that's what I would want somebody else to want for me, you know what I mean? And so it's like a lot of it, when it gets down to the wire and it's actually getting to the point of the show, I'd love to see these people find what they're looking for and find love, because it's human nature to want that, and it's human nature to want to find something that's really beautiful on this chaotic fuck mess of a show. I don't necessarily go into it for that. I definitely go into it for the entertainment value, which is why it's such a trap, because it's like I go into it like, oh, I'm just gonna watch some light cat fighting for an hour and a half, and then I'm just kind of like, at the end of the episode, why didn't you pick him? Why are you having this relationship with this person? This person's garbage. And I'm like, I felt more feelings than I really wanted to feel today.
So that brings us to the thesis of this episode, and every episode is, should I and the audience get into it?
My honest opinion of The Bachelor is that I like it just as much as I hate it. And so it's kind of like, it depends on what you're going into it for. I would definitely say that I would watch it if only just to study it, if only just to like to study the root of reality TV and to study these relationships and the editing and all of the stuff that goes into it, and just try and dissect this chaotic shit show of a show, because it's really an interesting case study on like how people find love, or how people find what is supposed to be love under these extreme circumstances that they put them under. It's really interesting to watch. If you're looking for something that at the end of the day, you know what, maybe I've changed my own mind on this a little bit, because it's like I go into this and I'm saying like, oh well, like this show is not really a heavy show, like it's not necessarily a show that's more valuable or it's moving, like it knows what it is, but I go into it thinking that I know what it is, but then I leave out of it with something different every time. So maybe I take back some of the stuff that I said about The Bachelor, but I watch it because I like aspects of it more than I hate other aspects, or I love to hate aspects of it. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for something that this is a very long-winded way of saying this
go
shit.
on.
If you're looking for something like that, where it's just like a way to see something that you don't always see, then yeah, I would watch it. I think that it's really interesting for anybody to watch, especially knowing that it's not always what it's cracked up to be.
That's interesting. And is there anyone that you want to shout out in the Bachelor Nation? Usually I say like artists and fan artists, fanfics writers, but essentially these are real people.
Yeah, I don't think there's really fanfic for the Bachelor. Shout out to Bachelor fan take on YouTube, because it really made me think more about The Bachelor, because I definitely was just kind of like watching it casually, and then like he posted a bunch of videos being like, okay, cool, so you want to see how this is edited? Mm-hmm. Check this out. This is how you know who's the villain. This is how you know who's gonna win. This is how you know who's gonna be the next Bachelor. And that's when I really started thinking about it as something other than just trash reality TV show, because the people who do this are not stupid. They know what they're doing. They know how they're editing this. It's all marketing and it's all strategic, and I didn't really start thinking about that until I started watching his videos. So shout out to Bachelor fan take, shout out to Mike, I love you, and Demi, you are the best representation of Texas State University that I've ever seen. Proud of you, congratulations girl, enjoy your engagement.
And I don't know, like I don't watch The Bachelor, but I do know there are like a lot of people who have like recap shows. Someone I like dearly, one of the McElroy brothers has a recap show with their wife called Rosebuds. Oh. And I've never watched listened to a single episode of it, but it just goes to show that a lot of people really enjoy this show. Or again, they're like you, where they love to hate it, or they kind of have sort of a guilty pleasure when watching it. And is there anyone else you want to shout out?
Bachelor specifically, I think I'm good. Hannah Brown, you are a great Bachelorette. Nobody from The Bachelor is ever going to hear my voice, probably. But it's just like, there are definitely things that I like about the franchise. I definitely like some of the people that came out of the franchise. They come across as really genuine, and I really, really root for them outside of the show and even in the show. Dear God, I hope my mother never listens to this, because she does not know that I know curse words. So I feel like, hi, Mommy, love you. Please never listen to this. Dad, what's good? And then, yeah, I'm good. Twitter, I'm Jaelyn.Ashford. I'm going to get flamed to shit for everything that I've said about this.
So it's at Jaelyn.Ashford?
Oh, shit. No, it's at Jaelyn Ashford. My Instagram is at Jaelyn.Ashford. Okay. Branding.
Yeah, we've been in class. Yeah. We know this from classes.
Yeah.
And is there any last minute thing you want to say to the audience of 3 people?
Hey, all 3 of you. I hope you're having a great night. I hope your tax season goes really well. And I mean, I would give it a shot. If you hate it, it's understandable. If you don't hate it, also understandable.
Well, thank you so much for
having me
on the show.
It's been wild.
I didn't know that you were going to do The Bachelor, but like it was really interesting to talk about.
It's kind of a weird social experiment of a show. I don't know. I didn't even know I was going to talk about it the way that we talked about it, so there's that.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, everyone. This has been episode 2 of FandotDomdotcom. Remember, fans are always on top.
Yeah, you are.